Did your mommy always tell you to eat your vegetables? It's cool in here. My lemonade is perfect. And we're going to put together 3 salads. So let's do this. As I said, we're putting together 3 salads today, and the first one is one that's a little bit unusual, but we love it. This first salad is going to come together so fast. We're going to need 1 large can of French style green beans. Those are the ones you want, French style. And depending upon your crowd and how people like how many people you have and whether or not they like green beans, you can decide. But French style green beans, a large can, is going to probably serve about 4 people. Now, so figure 4. If you have 8 people, you'll want to double it, because this is going to be one of your vegetables and you'll be surprised. It's going to go quickly. So I'm going to put this into a bowl. I'm going to turn you down and you will see how fast it comes together. You're going to love it. Now I'm using this plastic bowl as my mixing spot for each of the salads, because many of the ingredients are the same, but you're going to do different things with them and mix them differently. So we're going to place in first our can. We've drained it, and this is our can of our French style green beans. The next thing you're going to want is at least 1 diced tomato. So I've got my diced tomato in. Now we're not so much worried about the juice because that's a good thing. You're going to want to add about a 1/2 cup. Let me get a spoon here. Anywhere from a 1/4 to a 1/2 cup. I go by color and by how strong the onions smell. So I'm going to stop about there. That was probably about 2.5 tablespoons of diced green onion. I'm going to let that stay there. Now let's get to the spices. All right, first I'm using what they called an everything Italian blend. And it says everything, but the one thing it doesn't have, well, let me tell you what it does have. It has basil, it has black pepper, celery seed, chili peppers, fennel, it has oregano, it has some bell peppers, dehydrated garlic, dehydrated onion, salt, and a little bit of sugar. And so the one thing it really doesn't have would be the black pepper. So I'm going to start with 1 teaspoon of this seasoning, about 1 teaspoon. And I'm going to put in probably about 1/4 teaspoon of pepper. And that's because it had a little bit of chili flakes in the other one. So about 1/4. And that's because we like pepper. Okay, while I've got this, I'll just leave that open because I'm going to have to come back to it. Now, on top of this, we're going to start with about a 1/2 cup, anywhere from a 1/4 to a 1/2 cup of Italian dressing. And what dressing you like, that's up to you. Now, I'm using Olive Garden's Italian dressing just because we like the salads all the time at Olive Garden. So I'm going to go with about a 1/4 cup to begin with. Okay, here's my 1/4 cup measure. Now that's where I'm going to start. I'll set that to the side. I'm going to get my wet spoon and I'm going to start to mix. Now, you know, there are going to be some juices, and that's okay because that's what you want. Now, we're mixing 2 things. We want to make sure all of those spices get in the mix, as well as we want the onions to distribute so that no one will get a whole mouth of onions. And, you know, this is one of those desserts, one of these salads that's very colorful. So if you look at it and you think, well, I think I want a few more tomatoes, you can certainly do that. Or if you're not getting an oniony enough flavor, you may want to add more onions. Now I'm going to add just a touch more of tomatoes. Just because that's what we like. A few more tomatoes. Now this is one of those salads that the longer it sits, the better it is. And I'm going to add in another 1/4 of a cup of dressing. So that's a 1/2 cup of Italian dressing. It looks just right. And you know, the good thing about using the canned green beans is that your green beans are going to be very tender. Now, I have done this with fresh Italian green beans. Now, I like it that way, but everyone may not like the chewiness. You could certainly blanch them, then chop them or cut them up. You can certainly do that. But I'm using canned today. So let's give this a taste. Now we have our salad here, and I'm just going to get a little bit and give it a taste. Just so I know if it needs more dressing. It doesn't. It doesn't need any more spices. The spices are perfect. And, you know, if you wanted to add another vegetable to it, you could do that. But this is pretty, just the green and the red. I used a red onion, and you know, red onions have a tendency to be pretty intense. So that 2 tablespoons of onions is perfect. No more, because then your onion will overpower everything else. So 1 salad down. I'm going to get it into its bowl and let you see it. And get all of that dressing in there because it's going to marinate. Oh my goodness. Now, if you eat this later on for dinner or even tomorrow, this can last several days. I could have put this into a jar and put it in the refrigerator, and it probably would last about 3 to 4 days. So you can certainly put this together in advance for a picnic. So that's salad 1, check. But I try to do this at least a day in advance so that our flavors have a chance to go through it. So that's 1 green bean salad. The next salad also involves tomatoes, cucumbers, and onions. And you know what? When those tomatoes and cucumbers and onions come together with a delicious dressing, your family's going to like it. And I want you to see these beautiful colors, the reds and the greens. I'm going to use this nice baking dish actually, and I'm going to place the cucumbers in a layer on the bottom, and the reason for that is because they're pretty moist and they can hold up to the juices and the dressings that we're going to put over it. On top of that, I've cut these tomatoes into halves, and I'm just layering them around the bowl. Now, keep this in mind. This is a dish for 2, and more than likely, this will be gone in an evening. And then on top of that, I'm adding in some sliced red onions because I didn't use all of the red onions in our previous salad. So I'm adding some red onions on top. If you opt to use another type of onion, that's just fine. Vidalias would work great when they're in season, and certainly some type of sweet onion or white onion, even a yellow onion, would work perfectly. And so I'm just placing those in the dish. You're going to see that these colors are beautiful. Now, in this container, I'm going to add in about a half cup of vinegar, white vinegar. If you like apple cider vinegar better, then certainly you can go with that. Then I'm going to add in about a half teaspoon of black pepper, close to, well, I'll say between a fourth and a half teaspoon. I'm going to add in about the same amount of salt, and I'm just going to give that a good mixing because everything needs to mix well. You're going to notice that this is not going to have any oil. So we've got about a half teaspoon of sugar, and this is organic sugar, so that's the reason why the color is just a little off. But mix, 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 mix to get this broken down and get it melted. Now, I'm going to need a tasting spoon so I can taste it and know where I am with the flavors. Okay, needs just a little more sugar because we want to take the bite out of the vinegar, even though that vinegar is going to be awfully good. So you can see I added about another 4 teaspoons of sugar and just a little pinch of salt. And then we're going to mix more. And I mean, I'm really going to mix this well. Now, certainly you could put it in the microwave, warm it up just a bit, and all of this would melt quickly, but I didn't want to do that. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to pour it over the salad, and I had thought maybe I'd only use a portion of it, but I think I'm going to go ahead and just add it all. Now, once you use your fork and you start to mix it up, those colors are beautiful. So I'm going to cover it, get it sealed, and in about 30 minutes, this is going to go with dinner. Let's look at our tossed layer salad. We're moving today. So we're going to be using green leaf lettuce. And I'm starting with a layer first of cucumbers that I've diced. I was in a cutting mood, so you know, those are the things that happen. You just get in the mode and you just cut, cut, cut. So next I'm going to add in some actually red, orange, and yellow sweet bell peppers. And I'm putting those in because I want those colors to be pretty. I have the rest of my red onion that I chopped up, and I'm just going to place some of that in. You know, like I said, we could use another kind of onion. I'm not locked into this, but this is what I started with, so that's where I kept it. See how quickly it's going? My shredded carrots, I'm placing those in another layer, and soon you're going to see the color, and that's going to be great. So let's continue, and let's get that lettuce in. We're going to put that on top, and you're thinking, man, that's a lot of lettuce. But you know what? Once everything gets mixed, the only thing I'm not putting in are the tomatoes. You could add in some grapes, you could add in some chopped apples, you can add in whatever kind of fruit you really like. It could even be pineapple, and I think if I had pineapple, I'd probably put that on the bottom layer. But we're just going to continue to add the greens, and certainly as I'm pressing it down so that it's going to travel with me, and so the tomatoes will, you know, once you're ready to serve it, you'll toss it. Let each person put their own tomatoes in. That's what I like to do. Just put those tomatoes in a pretty bowl on the side. So I'm sealing this up, and it is ready for the refrigerator. Look at those layers. Aren't they pretty?
And when you finish eating these salads, you'll have your vegetables for the day.
I hope you have had a wonderful time in the kitchen, and I hope that you will continue to be a part of the Ebony, Ivy, and Thyme family. I have certainly enjoyed your presence.